Ladies and gentlemen, how do?
If you're on benefits, you should be writing a thank you letter to hardworking Brits for paying your wages. That's Jeremy Clarkson's latest idea, and it's splitting opinion. He joked that benefit claimants should have to write letters saying, "It's so kind of you to go to work every day so I don't have to. Thanks to you, I could buy an even bigger TV this week." Clarkson says it would work because, as kids, being forced to write thank you letters made getting presents feel that little bit less special. Britain's benefits bill remains out of control, with 1 in 4 people claiming to have some sort of disability, and Labour doesn't have a clue of how to fix it. Should people on benefits be thanking taxpayers, or has Clarkson gone too far?
Hello again, all you lovely people. Now, if I were to start a Bellend of the Week or the Tuesday Tool video segment, then the subject of this video would be a prime contender. The title of today's video is Man in 70-acre mansion demands handwritten thank you letters from the disabled. Just let me catch my breath. There I was thinking, how do I make a video about this massive Bellend and keep it light? A multi-millionaire television presenter has just demanded that disabled people send him a handwritten thank you note every time they buy a loaf of bread, and I am supposed to keep it light. The debate surrounding welfare reform flared up once again this week, following comments from broadcaster and celebrity gentleman farmer Jeremy Clarkson, who is a mass debater of epic proportion. Writing in his Sunday Times column, Mr. Clarkson suggested that recipients of personal independence payments and state benefits should be assigned a random working taxpayer each week to whom they must send a fulsome letter of gratitude detailing how their benefit money was spent or risk having their payment stopped. What is wrong with this country? Honestly, what stage of late stage aristocratic psychosis have we reached where a man who lives on a £4 million Cotswolds estate, a man who drives a giant Lamborghini tractor around his own backyard for an Amazon streaming series, looks out across the nation and thinks, do you know what's missing from modern Britain? Feudal vassalage. He wants a thank you letter, fulsome thank you note. The column of absolute madness. Let's actually analyse this logic, shall we? Because this isn't just standard Tory leaning pub waffle. This is pure, unadulterated, grade A aristocratic arse-hole delusion. Jeremy writes, and I quote, that every week when benefits are paid, the recipient should be emailed the address of a randomly selected taxpayer, and if they don't send a proper and genuine letter explaining how they spent the 194 quid that week, their money gets cut off. He actually wrote, I want to hear what they've done with the 194 quid I gave them that week. That you gave them, Jeremy? Did you personally walk down to the local job centre in Chipping Norton, pull out a wad of £50 notes from your leather trousers and hand it to a woman with severe arthritis, saying, there you go, love, don't spend it all on flat screen TVs. You paid your taxes, did you? Or at least, whatever fraction of taxes your team of high-priced accountants couldn't shield you from, agricultural tax exemptions, and land investments. That is how a civilized society works. You pay into a central pot so that if someone gets struck down by MS, or loses their job, or gets hit by a bus, they don't die in a ditch. You don't get to demand a personalized, handwritten, Victorian, era bread and butter letter like you're a 19th century duchess gifting a ham to a peasant family at Christmas as Jacob Grease smug rides by on his penny farthing. The hypocrisy of diddly squat. And who is this lecture coming from? It's coming from Jeremy Clarkson, the self-appointed voice of the hard working British gentleman farmer. Now, look, Clarkson's farm is the television equivalent of elevator music. We only watched it if there was nothing else on or for some white noise background sound. Watching an overweight modern-day dinosaur struggle to herd sheep and complain about bad weather was not really that thrilling. And let's not pretend Jeremy is an actual hard Scrabble tenant farmer sweating blood to keep the lights on. He's a multi-millionaire celebrity who bought a massive plot of prime Cotswolds land. And do you know what farming in the UK historically relies on, Jeremy? Subsidies, agricultural grants, public money, taxpayer-funded government handouts. For decades, the agricultural sector has been cushioned by billions of pounds of taxpayer money. Did Jeremy Clarkson send me a thank you letter when my tax money helped fund the roads his giant tractor drives on? Did he pop a handwritten note through my door saying, "Dear Sir Larry, thank you so much for going to work today so I could buy a second pig pen for my Amazon Prime show"? Did he bollocks? No, he wrote a column complaining that the people receiving 194 quid a week to survive a cost of living crisis aren't being polite enough to the ruling class. What would those letters actually say? Can you imagine the administrative infrastructure required for this absolute fever dream? Imagine the Department for Work and Pensions assigning random taxpayers to PIP claimants every Tuesday. Imagine the letters. Dear Mr. Clarkson, thank you so much for your unbridled generosity this week. Took the 194 quid you personally bestowed upon me from your throne in Chipping Norton, and I spent 80 quid on gas and electricity so my flat didn't freeze over. I spent 60 quid on basic groceries, though I do apologise for buying the branded baked beans. I know how that hurts your sensibilities. And with the remaining 54 quid, I bought prescription medication and paid for a bus pass so I could get to my hospital appointment. Yours eternally in servitude, Brenda. Is that what you want? Jeremy, do you want a little plaque installed on every mobility scooter in the UK saying, funded by the sheer benevolence of Top Gear? The dog comparison, and do you know how he opened the column? Do you know what led him to this brilliant economic breakthrough? His sodding dogs. He literally wrote that he gets heaps of gratitude from his dogs when he feeds them, gets nothing back from people on benefits. He is actually comparing his pet dogs to the disabled and those claiming benefits. Well, my Labradors wag their tails when I give them kibble, so why isn't a single mother of 3 in Sunderland wagging her tail when the state deposits her child tax credits? It is astounding. It is the kind of casual, unthinking, upper-class arrogance that you usually only find in 18th century French court portraiture right before someone pulls out a guillotine. The real welfare queens. Look, we have real problems in this country. We have a broken health service, decaying infrastructure, a housing crisis, and yes, a welfare system that needs careful, sensible management. But every time a media personality wants to drum up a quick headline, what do? They punch down. They target the disabled, the sick, unemployed. They treat human beings who are struggling as if they are parasites feeding off the pristine, heroic efforts of rich guys who write 800 words for the Sunday Times between drinking gin and tonics at their private pub. If we're going to start sending out thank you notes for public money, let's do it properly. Let's have water company executives send a handwritten thank you note to every household in England every time they dump raw shit into our rivers while collecting £1 million bonuses. Let's have Shell Oil CEOs send every taxpayer a handwritten thank you note for not paying any corporate tax and getting a nice £12 million tax refund after they've made record profits. Let's have bankers send a thank you letter to the public for the 2008 bailout. Let's have politicians send a thank you note every time they hand out lucrative PPE contracts to their mates from pub quizzes. Why is it only the poorest and most vulnerable who are expected to grovel for their basic survival? I wonder what those delightful people from the DWP would think about this massive wank spangle known as Jeremy Clarkson's personalised thank you note idea. Spokesperson for the DWP stated there are currently no plans to implement Mr. Clarkson's proposal, as they were handing out their 5th sanction of the day. Was my video a bit harsh on Clarkson? Harsh? Let's be serious. The prick wants disabled people to write him fan mail just for existing. If I write him a letter, it won't be a thank you note. I can tell you that much. After finishing this video, I deserve a beer or 3. And no, I won't be sending Jeremy a receipt. Well, folks, if you enjoyed this video, then not only are you lovely people, but you also have great taste, and you should subscribe to Naughty Nan Does for non-grifting North American news from a true Canadian that doesn't want to sell you a tree. And you should also subscribe to the Two Davies for news and politics from a uniquely Scottish perspective with that rantastic Mr. McGuinness and his esteemed co-host, the Charlie Cat, Q Growling Cat.